Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mentored Coffee series. This is your host, Peter Ngozi-Nyirongo. Now, Mentored Coffee series, that's where we brew new leaders. I am excited once again to bring back Rebecca. That's because I've had several questions from a number of you telling me and asking me stuff regarding vision board. I couldn't explain it any better. I really had to plead with Rebecca. Her schedule is absolutely tight. But I said, look, why don't you come in even just for 10 minutes? Okay. So, Rebecca, it's really good to have you. I hope you're doing really well. And now that the easing of level 3 has been escalated to better levels, and that now people can move up and down and go to restaurants.
Yeah, no, I'm doing well, thank you. Pretty excited about the changes in the lockdown directive. So can't wait to see people out and about. But I guess you're still observing social distancing, and but like you said, not emotionally distance ourselves from one another.
Yeah, great. So in getting into today's topic, first of all, let me put on my shades because of the glaze, and also the benefit of that is it just makes me look cooler than I am when I wear shades. And I'm excited. I wear this. So this is my interview jumper. When I wear this, that means I'm ready for my interview. So Rebecca, I felt that maybe we could just look at two components to the questions that I have received. So number one is really vision board. And then secondly, how does that tie in with mind mapping, which is a term that seems to be coming up of late. I think over time you find that there's certain new words or new phrases that are repeated. So mind mapping, I've noticed, is a term that keeps popping up, and vision casting as well as vision board. So how can we tie all of this as you explained to our viewers?
All right. Thanks so much, Peter, for having me back on Mentored Coffee. And like I said, we were brewing leaders. I'm a fan of coffee. And so definitely both topics are my favorite. And comes to mind mapping, it really comes down to how are you almost like making a architectural plan on how you're going to bring about your vision to become a reality. So whatever you have in your mind and whatever ideas you've got in your brain and in your heart, and we normally use these words interchangeably, such as ideas, dreams, or vision. So it all starts in the mind, and I start thinking, okay, this is what I would like to be as a leader. For example, if I'm working for a company, I want to become a senior manager, or I want to become an executive. Or if I'm an entrepreneur, I want to be a leading business person in the industry or the path that I'm working in. So it starts with those ideas that keep on almost like driving that individual to say, I have to do something about it. And we all know that passion is not enough. Having that great idea is not enough, because you got to put it to work. And in order to put it to work, that's where the mind mapping comes into play, where you start jotting down ideas of what you want to accomplish. So, for example, you start saying, okay, what skills do I need? What resources do I need financially? Who are the people that I need to surround myself with, in order to get where I need to get to? So that comes to mapping, and that's normally just comes with drawing some images or words that will help you navigate and plot your way around. And then the vision board now comes to the visual representation of what you were thinking about. So it could be through the form of pictures, it could be in the form of phrases and things that will, affirmations that will help inspire you along your journey to achieving those long-term or short-term or mid-term goals.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So, and regarding the current challenges that we have, I was just having a chat with a friend not long ago. Married guy, a lovely couple, but the challenge that he's having with his spouse, he says, look, she doesn't seem to understand his aspirations and his vision. And
Right.
look, have you actually thought about sitting down and having a chat with her, where as a family you have a common goal and common vision, where you tie in what she wants to achieve and what you're trying to achieve, and you say,
Right.
"God, I've never actually thought about it that way. I don't think we've ever sat as a family to say, where do you see yourself 5 years from now or 10 years from now?" And then we sort of progressively start taking that path together. And they said, so how best can I go about it? I said, you know what? It's interesting that you mentioned this to me, because I actually have an expert who will be able to shed a little more light regarding the same. So, from areas of couples,
Mm.
how would you advise that, as a couple, either you are thinking of getting married, you're not there yet, or you've been married for a while?
Mm.
How do you navigate through that without necessarily making your partner feel like you are dragging them into it?
Right,
Yeah,
absolutely. I love that point, because it's an important question, because it's always who you're journeying with. Sometimes either helps you to grow or
yeah,
stifles your growth. And we've seen it in many couples, even in celebrity couples, where you've seen whomever they marry, maybe their career was going very well, and then you find that it's stagnant, or they're blossoming and the other person, and it just becomes a little bit of a divided vision. And whenever there is division in a vision, then that means that people are going different paths. People are not in tune with one another. They're not in sync. It does not mean that we have the same way of wanting to do things. So, for example, when I facilitate couples vision board sessions, I normally encourage each one to write their own personal goals, separate from the other, without consulting the other partner. And
mm,
normally then they discuss and share. And it's like, what did you write? Okay, this is what I wrote down, or this is what I ended up having as a vision. And then
yeah,
out of that, then we take the second step is then to say, let's create a united vision for the family. So as a couple
yeah,
or with children, and it could be three different focus areas. It could be, what are we going to do for community? What are we going to do financially? And what are we going to do maybe for relationships? So maybe our rule is we're going to communicate better, which means we're going to sit it out and talk about whatever is bothering us. That could be a goal, because sometimes they might find that they're not communicating. Financial goals, for instance, could be, hey, because we want to save up for the future,
mhm,
we're not going to spend as much as we used to. So maybe you're thinking of buying that fancy handbag as wifey. You might put that on hold, or you might think of raising a bit of extra income a different way and not deplete the family funds. So
yeah,
that's where people get more united. But the more they share one another's vision boards, I find that they get to know each other better, because
yeah,
then, like you're saying, the guy is saying, hey, this is what I want to do career wise. This is what I want to do to
yeah,
enhance my learning and development skills. Maybe go to get a degree or something, and then she will
yeah,
say, "Oh, I didn't know you wanted to do that." But it's
yeah,
done in a healthy environment, because the atmosphere is more conducive for, I'm trying to learn more about you and let's grow together. And that's a
yeah,
growth mindset. But a fixed mindset will say, well, I don't care what you want to do. I don't know what you want to do, and I'm not with you in what you want to do. And that's
yeah,
no grounds to a flourishing relationship at all. Or the other
yeah,
person will still stay with them, but they don't feel like they're heard. And
yeah,
then we can celebrate each other as well. If it's a couple, they can see how the other one accomplished their dream. They remember when it was still on paper. And now
yeah,
maybe with they graduating, they see that person like, this used to be a dream on a paper, and look how much work you put into it. and you can be part of the celebration instead of where you're like on the sideline and not knowing why the other person's motives are. And the vision board also helps people know what the purpose of some dreams are. You discover the purpose behind, the motive behind doing what you want to do, and it brings people closer together. I found it very beneficial for many couples, and especially couples who've been married for a long time, because things get stagnant. I also encourage it for people who are premarital, those who want, before you get married, because it also helps each person to kind of get into the role of when they do, move in together as a couple, then at least people are on the same page. But it doesn't necessarily fix all the issues, but at least it gives people a framework in which that relationship is going to be navigating at, knowing that we're two individuals, but we might have a common vision for certain goals for that family.
Fantastic. No, thank you so much. Lastly, probably I would want to just ask the last question. I'm very mindful of the time that you've given me. You were heading to something else. At what age should somebody consider doing, vision board? Is there a specific age that you highly recommend, being an expert in this field?
I actually recommend, I've facilitated sessions for kids who are in first grade, from first grade, second grade, third grade, to university students, to high school students, to professionals, executives, grandparents, so what I'm just basically saying is it's for every age group. When they're kids, the kids love to see what their parents dream of. I've heard of moms who have attended a vision board workshop go home, and the young child will say, "Mom, I want to make mine," and they start cutting up magazines, and because they feel it's fun, but also they get to kind of unpack. As much as they're not as clear about every dream of theirs, but you'll find that once they make it a habit, maybe do it every year as a family, that actually allows people to see each other's growth and development and change of interests as well. Because a vision board might say, this year you're more interested in this kind of hobby, but you're going to change maybe to something more focused. Like as parents, I support parents. I even sign up kids who are teenagers or kids who have just finished university and they're looking to transition to jobs. And parents will sign them up for one-on-one coaching, and I do vision boards with them. And part of it is just to help them to kind of be clear about what they actually want to do. They have lots of dreams. They have lots of ideas. And so sometimes we underestimate what they actually have to offer, but they may be lacking the tools to organize their thoughts. They're lacking the tools to help them have the discipline to finish something they start. And then grandparents as well, part of them, they have a vision for their grandchildren, they have a vision for their children. And when you hear their hearts and what they envision for themselves and what they also envision when they're younger, it helps you maybe the energy to say, well, I'm into art as well. Let me make sure that I continue and carry that baton, because grandma loved art and she never got to really fulfill her career in the arts, but she's able to crochet and she's able to help the community. So you get to celebrate different generations as well. So I think it's really like we're saying it's for every
my
age.
station with you regarding vision board is that you gave me a pile of magazines and you said, look, I need you to cut out pictures of images of how you envision yourself based on what you've written down. What is the importance of doing something like that?
Oh my goodness, there's something powerful about visualization, right? So if you think about it in your own mind, when your teacher says, hey, Peter, you were daydreaming when you're in fourth grade, you were never paying attention, but that meant that your mind was going somewhere. You were already like on a rocket ship, or you were in a first class plane going somewhere. Our minds have such visual effects. It's amazing what we can dream of. We can dream of walking on the roads in Italy, or we can be in Spain, we can be anywhere with our mind, but we see it in pictures, right? And those pictures inspire us to do something. So the same thing with visual pictures that you see in a magazine, they're representing whatever you're dreaming of. As well as there's digital vision boards as well, like Pinterest.
Yeah.
Pinterest is a tool, an app, kind of like Facebook, kind of like Instagram.
I Pinterest quite a bit. Yeah.
Great. So you think maybe
vision board, matter of fact.
Excellent. So you can have a digital vision board as well. So like for me, if I'm trying to maybe change my wardrobe and I say, I do envision myself being this successful woman who's walking into the boardroom and making decisions and helping sign serious deals, and contracts, what would she look like? How would she dress? So sometimes I'll pin pictures on Pinterest with those fashion ideas. By the time I go to the shops, I'm not just kind of randomly just buying whatever is in fashion. I'm very clear, intentional about the decisions I'm making on how I want to look because I visualize it on paper. The same thing when it comes to maybe it's writing a book, you print out a word which says author. That means that you envision yourself being a published author. And so that will motivate you to do something about it because that vision board will look at you and say, hey, when are we going to do that thing, Rebecca? And then Rebecca will say, I'm too tired, I'm too busy. Then it just calls you to action. So it's not just about wishing it and looking at it as well, but it does kind of like starts making you very uncomfortable in being very laxy-daisy about your dreams and goals. You start doing something about it. That's when you start tracking your goals and implementing them. But the vision board itself is a start. There are many other tools out there, but this is one of the tools that's really helped me, and I know it's helped a lot of people.
I can attest to the fact that after that session with you, I looked at myself differently, and all of a sudden I felt like it was possible and easier to attain because I could now look at it and say, hey, I can achieve that. I can be that, and then also on that note where Rebecca says that, look, if you want to be an author, you can grab my book, okay, and put it right next to you. And look, I'm going to be an author like Peter did it. On this note, Rebecca, thank you so much. I don't know if you've got any closing remarks.
Just from a closing remark, I think just looking at your journey, Peter, as well, just being motivated and inspired, I think it really shows that when someone, even if it's not written on a vision board per se, like on a poster board, but people have a lot of vision and ideas. They've got dreams. And they sometimes, don't do something about it, and some do something about it. So it's really important for you to continue to keep that vision in mind. Sometimes maybe you might be feeling down. I don't know where you might be right now, especially with COVID lockdown. Many people have been frustrated. They had ideas. Maybe they were progressing in a career, in a corporate environment. Maybe they were retrenched, laid off. And now they're thinking, what's the point of this vision board because it's been interrupted or it feels like it's not going to happen. I just want to encourage you to realign your goals, to readjust and re-envision again, revisit that vision board and see how else you can find a way to win and make that dream happen, especially when it's bigger than you, especially when it's got purpose behind it, and especially if there are many people depending on you to succeed so that their lives can be made better. So make sure that you kind of get up, dust yourself off, and get going. So vision boards, here we come. Don't stop being a visionary of your own life and that of your business or your organization and your community. But thanks so much, Peter, for having me on Mentored Coffee. It was really great.
An illustrious closing remark. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you. You've been one of, I think, the most fundamental and most impactful people in my life during the last 2 years, So, ladies and gentlemen, those that have tuned in, and if you want to get in touch with Rebecca, I'm going to drop her details. You can see how amazing she is, that by the time you finish hearing her speak, you feel good about yourself, you feel clarity, and that's something that I always get after having a chat with you. There's always a lot of clarity if there's any cloud in my mind. So thank you so much, Rebecca. And in the near future, there's another topic that specifically I would want to get you involved. I think I'm going to have a panel, and it'll be great to have you on board. And then also on the third one where I'll need you is we'll have a bit of question and answer where we open it up to people just to send in questions and we can respond accordingly. So once again, viewers and listeners, This has been your host, Peter Ngozi-Nyirongo, on the Mentored Coffee series, Brewing New Leaders. And New York, you've been incredible. Thank you so much. You guys keep tuning in. And once the lockdown is over, I look forward to joining you guys. So stay tuned in about a couple of days' time, or rather, not a couple, but maybe 5 days' time. We have another exciting guest that will look at a different angle, but primarily focused on making your life better and preparing you for your next step in your life, especially in the area of entrepreneurship. So once again, this has been Peter. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Bye-bye.